Hello and welcome to another Robcast, Revenge of the Nerd podcast. Hi everyone, I am Rob Sachetto, and I am the inventor of the zombie portrait and lover of all things pop culture. Yes, that's right, hi. I am coming to you from my wonderful, spacious movie room, so that must mean, and you can tell by the thumbnail to this video, that I'm going to do another movie review. Today, normally I do movie reviews of movies that I absolutely love, but today, not so much. I'm going to be doing a movie review of Jonah Hex, forgotten DC comic book movie. If you thought DC movies were horrible, you've not seen Jonah Hex. Now, you know what, to be honest, I love DC movies, by the way. I'm not a bandwagon dude who goes like, yeah, they all suck and blah, blah, blah. I actually love a lot of the DC movies. In fact, I can't think of one I don't like. I think they're not all made for me. Like Aquaman was kind of, I think, more for kids, maybe. Younger children, maybe Wonder Woman 2, but I enjoyed them. I thought they were well done movies. And people can rag on DC, the DC universe, only because you can't help but compare it to the Marvel universe, which is far superior. And it is only because Marvel kind of established that the way those types of movies kind of should be done or should be presented, or a really good way that they are presented anyway, until somebody finds out a better one, which I don't think DC is doing necessarily. It's a little disjointed. It's kind of like Marvel Comics. Anyway, we'll get into that another time. We'll get into the comic stuff another time. But for now, we're going to do Jonah Hex. Now, Jonah Hex, the movie, was based on Jonah Hex, obviously the comic, the DC comic. Started, I think, in like 73 or 4 or something like that. I have a number of Jonah Hex comics. I really enjoyed them. A lot of them were done by Tony DeZuniga. He did the art for a lot of them, and that series went way up until I think the early 80s, maybe mid 80s even. I have to check my collection. I have a number of Jonah Hex comics because I really, like I said, I really enjoyed them. Then Jonah Hex became Hex. It didn't really become Hex in the lineage of the Jonah Hex comics. It became a new #1 where Jonah Hex was kind of in the future, and it became Hex. He became this sort of futuristic bounty hunter guy. That was like a late 80s comic. It was kind of short lived. I think it was maybe I'm gonna say 12 to 18 issues, something like that. I'm not exactly sure about because again, although I do have some of them, I don't see a lot of them out there to buy. And if I did, I'd buy them because you know what? I'm an easy mark, man. I'm an easy mark for comics. If it's a comic that's 30 years old, I'm buying it. It wasn't even that bad. It wasn't even that bad of a comic. Then, actually, around the time of the New 52 that DC put out, I think around 2011 or so, they rebooted, or not rebooted necessarily, but re-released a new series of Jonah Hex, which was really, really good. The first issue had a fantastic cover by Frank Quitely. It was one of the best covers I've ever seen. Just a great rendition of Jonah Hex. And it was done by a lot of great artists and writers throughout the run. And it lasted a long time. I think it went up to 50 or 60. I know I have the full run of that. I just can't remember now exactly how far it got. Like maybe to 65 or something. But man, it was really good. And then like it ran like alongside of All Star Western, because they started that comic again in around 2011 or so, which was fantastic. And they kind of connected, I think near the end, they kind of connected Jonah Hex to like Gotham City somehow, like old Gotham before it was Gotham, or like it was Gotham, but you know, obviously not Batman's Gotham. But I seem to remember that because I did, you know, when you read 25,000 comics, sometimes you forget the, like, you know, specifics about stuff. It's like the generalization. But anyway, this Jonah Hex movie has nothing to do with any of that. We'll get to the movie. So the movie has nothing to do with the Jonah Hex comics, really. Like, he's a bounty hunter, I guess. But in this one, there's like... So this is like a mashup of, like, The Crow, Wild Wild West, I don't know, like other movies. And you know what? It's got a great cast. Like, the cast is fantastic, but a really good cast doesn't make a really good movie. Like, John Malkovich is in this. He plays the villain, you know, and it's like, he's just bored. He's bored of being there. He's bored of being on the set, I think. And Michael Fassbender, you know what? It's so funny because I'll pick up a movie again to watch that I haven't watched in years. And I'll be like, oh, so-and-so was in that. Oh, Tom Hardy was in that. Or, oh, a young so-and-so was in, you know, and you kind of forget. Michael Fassbender, he was in this. And he's actually one of the best things in here. He plays the main henchman of John Malkovich's villain. So even the origin is a little different than the origin in the comics, of course. So in this movie, to get the facial, and you know, you'll notice, this is so weird, this is Hollywood for you. You'll notice on the cover, Josh Brolin, who plays Jonah Hex, you can't see his disfigured side of his face that Jonah Hex has. That's his signature, and you can see it's darkened out here. Yeah. You know? So it's almost like that first Punisher movie. It's the Punisher, but he doesn't have the skull on his chest. What? Like, that's the easiest thing to do. All you had to do was show the skull on his chest. That's the only thing that makes him the Punisher. Otherwise, he's just a crazy vigilante guy with black hair and lots of guns. I don't know. Explain things to me. So anyway, yeah, Jonah Hex, played by Josh Brolin, and I love Josh Brolin, man. No Country for Old Men. I even love the Old Boy American version. I really did. You know, it's not, you can't really compare it to the original Japanese version. I think it's Japanese. I have it. I'm not quite sure. I need to check on that, but you know. Even Josh Brolin, man, like, he mumbles, like, okay, so he's got the disfigured mouth and everything, and he sort of mumbles his lines. Sometimes he's incoherent. I think he got bored of being there too. It seemed like everyone was bored of doing this movie. Now, as far as being a good movie, it was, you know what? If you don't give a shit at all, it's at least entertaining a little. It's okay. There's some nice shots. There's some cool, like, action bits, but man, there's so much sort of like Wild Wild West, like the Will Smith version of Wild Wild West, where, you know, there's like all these like modern sort of things, like. In this, like, they're trying to create this giant weapon, which is like super futuristic. It's got these like glowing orbs that it shoots out that detonate these other things. They don't really explain it. You're like, how is that happening in the Old West? Like, how is this a thing? You know, there's lots of stuff like that where you kind of question, like, what time period is this? Like, you know, and there's absolute cheese in it too, like cheesy things that are said and done. So Megan Fox is also in this. You know, she plays the eye candy, man. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? Like, that's what she plays. There's a reason why her last name is Fox, man. She's super hot. She's in this movie. She plays literally the eye candy, nothing else. They didn't hire her for singing. That's the reason why she's in this movie. It's kind of weird how they assembled this cast. Like, they say that Michael Shannon is in this movie, but he's not. He kind of is, but he kind of isn't, because, you know, I'm watching the credits and I'm like, oh, Michael Shannon's in this? You know, Zod from Man of Steel, from Superman. And I love him. Like, I love Michael Shannon. Like, he's actually such a great actor, and he's super funny. He's hilarious. He's got that dry sort of humor, like that Dave Letterman sort of delivery. Like, he could play Dave Letterman. He almost has those same features that he could do, and I'm sure. But anyway, I'm like, who was this guy in the movie? Like, you know, Michael Shannon playing Doc blah 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 or whatever. I'm like, I don't remember that character being in there. I go to the cut scenes, and there's this long cut scene where him and Megan Fox are in this carriage, and he has this long sort of dialogue thing, or then back and forth with Megan Fox, and he plays this character, and I'm like, I did not see that character in this movie, but he's credited in the movie. So I don't know. Then, as if that wasn't enough, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in this movie too. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Negan, man, from like Walking Dead. He's in this movie. But he's not credited in the credits. I didn't see his name in the credits. I looked at the credits 3 times. He's not in there, man. And he plays like the son of the villain that plays a pivotal role, sort of, in terms of the plot, because, you know, Hex kills him. And that's why the villain seeks revenge on Hex and blah, blah, blah. And he resurrects Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I'm like, was that Michael Shannon? And I went back, and I'm like, no, that's not Michael Shannon, that's Jeffrey Dean Morgan, that's who I thought it was. And he resurrects him, and he talks to him in this graveyard and all this stuff, and he's not credited in the movie. So it's so weird. Like, you know, I'm sure if they put this movie out now, he'd be like on the cover, because now he's like famous, or, you know, people know him now. But anyway, I was like, man. And so this movie seemed very slapdash. There was actually, you know, in the outtakes, the cut scenes, there was some stuff that I'm like, how on earth would this have fit into the movie if it were in there? It almost seemed like they shot tons of stuff. They had maybe like a bunch of different writers. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to who wrote it or whatever, did the screenplay. But maybe they just didn't say, or whatever, how many people actually were involved in it. And then there was like stuff where it was like, oh, now this scene is this now cut scene. Man, like they filmed at least two versions of this one scene, and here's the cut one, and the one that you remember is in the movie, obviously. Anyway, I just thought that there was like tons of like reshoots, stuff that was like tons of shoots that were cut out, and I think that's why when you kind of watch it, if you pay attention, the actors seem really bored to be there. Like, it's very lackadaisical performances, except for Fassbender. He's like exciting the whole, like every time you see him, he's always excited, and he's always like, you know. But I have a feeling that he had more to do in this movie than he's in this movie. Anyway, it's one of those Hollywood products, man. Like, that's basically, at the end of the day, that's what you're going to get out of this. Read the comics, man. I always, even if the movie's good, I always say read the comics anyway, because the comics are the source material. The source material, it's not like reading a novel where, you know what, man, you have to struggle through 500 or 600 pages or whatever. Comics are fun. It's exciting. There's art. It's all art. And you get it in little chunks, or you can read it all at once in a graphic novel. It's all good, man. Like, it's for those people who, like me, I look at a printed page and I want to fall asleep, man. So I can't help that. That's just a thing. But anyway, so at the end of all that, Jonah Hex, it's okay. It's not something write home about. If you see it in some streaming service, give it a watch. There's some fun things. There's explosions and stuff like that. If you want to put your brain on hold and kind of just enjoy a cheap sort of movie based on a comic, there you go, Jonah Hex. And Jonah Hex, actually, in the comics too, had a bit of a resurgence in the Dark Knight's death metal series that's going on right now. So yeah, he plays a role in the Dark Knight's death metal miniseries, follow up to death metal, follow up to Dark Knight's metal. Yeah. So anyway, it's hard to get all these bloody miniseries, straight. But anyway, check the movie out if you want. I'm not giving it super high praise. I'm giving it some, relative okayness. You're gonna see actors that you're like, oh, I like that actor, or that's interesting seeing this person play that role, and blah blah blah. If you like Josh Brolin, to see him with the facial disfigurement and stuff, and him taking a drink and it spilling out of his mouth hole and stuff like that, there's little gems in there that are kind of fun. Otherwise, if I didn't own it, I wouldn't be clamoring to go find it. But I do own it, and I did relatively enjoy it the other night when I watched it. So, yeah. So anyways, there's the wrap up. Jonah Hex, a forgotten DC movie. Maybe some of you don't even realize that it was a movie. It's kind of like the Swamp Thing, or the Man Thing. Marvel did Man Thing. In fact, I might actually do that as a regular thing. Do forgotten comic book movies, man. I'll review them and you guys can go find them and watch them. Anyway, I'm out. I'm going to leave a link to my Patreon page in the description below this video, and you guys can check out new zombie art every single day on my Patreon page. If you'd like to support it, I would be over the moon if you did. Even $1 a month, man. It's all good. You can suggest art that I do. It could be from anywhere in pop culture, video games, comic books, dinosaurs. I don't care, man. I probably have it there already, but you can suggest anything, even at $1 a month. I will do stuff because I've add zombie art on there every single day, man. Every single day. So it's crazy. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Please click the subscribe and the likes. Give me a thumbs up. That would be awesome. It costs nothing, and I would really appreciate it. It means a lot to me, guys. It really does. Trying to grow the channel. I hope I can do more of these videos for you. I hope you enjoy them. But in the meantime, I will bid you adieu. Best wishes. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care. All right. Bye now.